But if they say not today, but I'm willing to do it tomorrow, you have a contract. But if you just have an expectation and you don't have a contract, the chances of you going home to what you want are very, very minimal. We see families at family therapy. I mean, they are in such disaster. They're just unbelievably dysfunctional. You see them in the office, but we see them in the family. And it's just craziness. It's just nuts what they do.
So Betty, I guess on the bridge, the thing that we've been talking about here is motivating, encouraging, inspiring.
I love
Remember
that.
The last time
Inspire.
the word inspire was the word.
Inspire your clients. Motivate. You might say, in the early stages, you might say, how many times would you like to see me for counseling? That's a loaded question, isn't it? And they'll say, well, some will say, well, till I improve or I get the job done. Some others will say, oh, twice. What are you willing to accomplish in those 2 sessions to change? Are you ready to make a change in your life? Are you ready to change? Because I don't see people that are not ready to change. You might say, I only see people who are ready to make significant changes. Because repentance means changes. We don't want the whiners. We don't want those that say, oh, da, 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 da. Repentance is changes. Does that make sense? So are you willing to make some changes that you and I would agree on? I don't think we force the change, but that we can agree on.
It's not Judas's remorse.
Right.
It's Peter's repentance.
Right. Well, his wasn't very good either. but Peter had an attitude problem too, but later he got fixed.
I think building a bridge is giving people hope. I see a lot of people that have
Microphone.
I think maybe the most important thing in building a bridge is giving people hope. Because right now it seems like there are an awful lot of people that are hopeless. And if you say, well, I believe you can get over that, or I know you can do better, you know, you give them hope. Well, this is somebody who's going to help me. It's not going to be me, but they're going to get help.
Can you stay away from being nice when you do that?
That's empowering.
I think that's more empowering than being nice, because you're saying, I believe you can work on this. I think sometimes
Will you work on this? In other words, I don't care how much you believe it. Will they do it is the question. Yes or no. Will you do this?
I think people come expecting somebody to be nice and just listen to them and pat them on the back. So I think asking and saying, you know, I expect and I know you want to, or any kind of hope statement, and then asking, are you willing?
Okay. All right.
I think you need to give them hope. Yep. Right now especially. It seems to me like, well, we're getting a lot more clients from like free clinics and things,
So-
referrals. And they're really depressed. and
So
kinda hopeless.
let's say that they've been out of work for a year. What approach would you take with a person who's been out of work for a year? Yes.
I knew this was going to come up someday. I heard this last week. I was talking to a gal. I help out at this clinic, and a lot of people have cancer, and her son was unemployed, and the Lord told her, you must work even when there's no work. And he went out and he got into a volunteer position. He met a wonderful girl. He's now moving into a position where he has work, but it broke something off in him. It really did. It's like, you must work.
Whether you have a job or not.
That's right. And that just went super deep in my spirit. And I knew I was going to be able to repeat that. And here it is. But it was just, and to hear her testimony and how it's changed his life. And because you just roll around in self-pity when you're at home and you don't have a job and you don't feel useful and you're not functioning in society, and a paycheck does not define who you are. It's movement, it's getting out of isolation, it's being in community with other people, it's serving, it's getting out of yourself, and so.
So, in other words, if they've been out of work for a year, not only say, what work did you do today, or what was your work this week, or, building the work idea, because they get lazy. They get, a lot of people are taking unemployment, cheating on whether they ask for jobs, and really messing up big time. And so we have to really, build an ethical. Are you an ethical person? Would I respect you? Now that's a pretty direct hit.
Betty, I have a client who's been out of a job, just like what you're saying. And we came around that he needs to do something, get out of the house. And I was prepared to give him a couple addresses to look into, which he did, which he is doing now. He feels so much better about himself.
Correct.
He is better, not feels better. He is better.
Whee! If we succeed, our clients will succeed. Okay, let's go back to Big God. We keep kind of avoiding it, and maybe we do a lot. So, people are used to sermons. They're used to platitudes. They've got some scriptures maybe, or maybe they have nothing. Maybe they came in and they have nothing to fall back on. So the biggest question is, how big is your God? That's the biggest question. You talking about us? Yes. Okay. And what does that mean to you? What's going on there? What's happening there? Is that an involvement with your entire being? Are you built on that greatness of God? There's a book called Fearfully and Wonderfully Made, written by a man who, I can't remember his name, but he worked in a leprosy colony for many, many years as a doctor and a research person and so on. Now, a man like that writes something that's worth reading. Let's suppose you want a client to read, and they don't like to read, because we have that all the time. I saw that constantly. And sometimes they can't read. I don't think we're motivating them enough, looking back on it, to read. But it's got to be the right thing they read. It's got to be something that's going to turn them on. There was a man from Montana in the Ministry of Counseling, and he required his clients to say the Psalms and keep learning them. And that was the entire treatment. And they all got better, significantly better. Because they do establish in the Psalms the greatness of God. And I don't believe that it's being established in the organized religion of this world.